Hey, what's up guys? Thanks for being back, and today we're gonna take a look at building the QAV-PRO whoop together. So since this is a frame assembly kit you can purchase on GetFPV or worldwide in any of your Lumenier stores. We're super excited to have this product out now, and just to help you a little bit we're gonna want to guide you through how to build it. It's definitely easy because since it's a 5-inch, it's not like complicated like an X8. So today we're gonna take a look at what we need and then build everything together. So we have the frame itself here. It comes in this nice box with all the parts you need for it. We're gonna put this aside already in case you want to see what is inside the box. I made an unboxing video already, just a few videos back. Then we're gonna need some motors, and we're gonna install our own signature motors. These are the Lumenier 28 or 7 1915 kV motors. We found them super suitable to like run a 5-inch prop with those heavier payloads from the cameras. So this is a good all-around motor. It also comes in super sexy matte black, which gonna looks nice on the motor. Then we have the crossfire receiver, just in case you build something different. I don't know if you're running Spectrum or something else. Just put the receiver your choice in. Then we have a Pololu 5-volt regulator. This we need later to power on all our cinema cameras. We have the Lumenier 60 amp Heli 32 226S ESC with 60 amps. We like to run these because they're super reliable and they work great for us. And also we're gonna install the Lux V2 Ultimate Flight Controller with dual gyros. We have great results. Also you need your VTX system. I'm gonna install the Cadex Vista. Since I like to run these without a regulator, just for safety reasons, I like to power them directly from the camera, from the battery, from the flight pack. So I don't want to put an air unit in there since they work great too. I'm just switching out the camera because I need 120 FPS. This is just a little extension cord for the Vista. I'm gonna also exchange the capacitor on the ESC. They're gonna ship a small one. I think it's fine enough, but just for extra safety I'm gonna put a bigger one. This is a 1000. Yeah, so let's get started. I would say we're just gonna unbox first everything. Oh, nice thank you card. So we put a lot of love in like also the packaging, so you have a nice idea. And I would say we just put on some tunes and have a nice build session together. So this is the top plate itself, super nice carbon. This is all Japanese carbon, so it's super stiff. Just gonna put everything aside here. I like to have, also there's an instruction manual how to put the frame together itself inside the box, so you can check this out in case you want to know which screw goes where. Here we have the hardware and the center core, which I'm going to talk in a second, and the camera plates. I think that's everything from the box. I like to lay out everything, so we can put this aside. And here we got some hardware. I'm going to just take everything out. We have this. We have a battery strap, the GoPro mount, extension cords for your flight controller and Vista. These will come handy later since we have the core installed, so that gives you easy access for installing and updating the latest firmware and stuff. Just take out everything from here. So I like to unbox everything first, so we have a clear overview of what we have. Here we have the flight controller. We have the ESC here with the capacitor. We can take this aside. Then we have our Pololu. We like to use the big Pololu. It's the 12. The item number is 4095 in case you need that, and it's a 12 volt 4.5 step down regulator. So this is enough power to power all the RED KOMODO or any other camera you want to run on there to save weight battery. Then we have our crossfire diversity. We don't need the small antennas, so we can take these aside, and we have 2 antennas here. So let's start. With featuring, we have all our standoffs, and they're also super nice matte black. I think it's gonna look nice in the frame. This is also the first time building the final prototype, so I like to doing this together with you guys. We have the core here, and let's get started. So this is a pusher configuration, so it means the motors will be on the top plate and we're pushing down. You could also build it the other way around, but I would not suggest it because it's all made to be a pusher, since we have better results with that system. So yeah, I would say we can start with mounting the stuff on the bottom plate and also install the standoffs to get this started. Here we have the XT60, it's a bolt-in one. You have little feet to protect your carbon, and let's install these first. I think they look fun to install. So this is our system for the battery pad. This is a little rubberish material. It's not letting your battery float around, so you just remove it, and then you have these curves in here where the carbon cut out. You just press in. Just let me remove this. You just simply press them in and firmly touch them. They fit perfect in here. Oh, that looks super sexy. Since they're sticking only halfway out, it gives you that illusion like it looks super cool. So let's put them nice in here. They all fit super snug. Just make sure they sit all the way in there so they don't come loose. So this is the last one. So they are now all installed, and I think that looks super cool. Yeah, you can see how they're sticking up there. I think that's super nice. Super creepy too. And we are done with that already. So let's remove the top plate again and go to the bottom plate. I like to flip it around. We have our screws here. Let's get them open. Here's a knife. So all of these screws for the main assembly are countersunk. So they sit flush in here, which looks super nice. And you don't have the head sticking around. So I just take one of these here. Need my screwdriver. Which side is that? Yeah. Take my screwdriver, you just put it in here, and you can just simply. The location of the feet is like up to you. So I like to run 2 on each side. But if you want to place them, I don't know, more in the front or more in the back, this is totally up to you. Just simply put the screw in here, and then here we go, use this one here. You could also like Loctite these standoffs, but since it's a build video and I want to go quickly through with you guys, so you don't have to watch 3 hours of me building a drone. Yeah. So now we have them all installed, and we have also the feet installed, so it sits super nice on here. We can continue. So also you can see here on the back is another GoPro mount, so you can do some reverse shooting. That's nice too. I like to install the flight controller next, so therefore we need to get the rubber grommets. Remove the plastic, we need the wire later. So I'm gonna put this in here. I think like building stuff like this is super relaxing, especially now. There's winter time in Germany, so it's kind of cool to like work on your builds and stuff. We have been shooting like the whole summer season, so this is kind of relaxing to like build some new stuff and improve your fleet, let's say. So the flight controller fits nice on here. There's a pattern for also a smaller one, but I like to use this one, and it just should sit on here like this. Then we can use screws. Also the bottom is countersunk, which is super nice. See, like everything is flush here, and just put it on here like this. This is the correct length. You could use a little bit shorter ones, but we included these long ones to make sure, you know, you have the right size screws with you in case you want to, like, you know, stack something on top of it, or just want to build something different. Let me check the orientation for the cam plates. So I need to rotate the flight controller, see? So that looks better, since the arrow needs to show forward, because here we're gonna install our camera, and yeah. Then I'd like to see, so we have this installed here. Do we need to solder something from the bottom? You can just keep it loose for now. I like to lay out all the stuff I need to install first, and then make sure I can wire everything correctly. So here we need to see where we're gonna mount the Vista. That's why I have this long extension. So probably the front is best. Let me change quickly the camera here, since I don't like to run this low quality, I don't know whether it's polar cam or whatever. I like to have the 120 frames, so I'm installing an old DJI camera. Just simply unscrew it. Then there's this little metal plate here what holds it on. You can just unclip it, take this camera away, and install this guy here. Just going to use something here to push it firmly in. Be really careful with these connectors, just in case you want to change something, because they're you can easily damage something. And then I'm gonna put this little bracket on there back together. Put the screw back in. And this will not work. Since there's a little bit of tension on, I'm just going to put the screw in here. So that looks much better now. This is cool. So can install it like this. So we're gonna put both connectors just on one side. I'm gonna install the extension on the back so we can mount our camera later. Just putting this on here. So we put this screw back in to secure the antenna connection. That works like this, so you cannot lay out it like this. I mean, the cable is now a little bit long for the camera, but I think that doesn't matter. And then we have included some 1.6mm screws, so you could take the original one out. See here on the corners, I like to do it with two. I think we included 4, so you could do all 4 of them, but I think that's plenty if you do 2. You just secure them from the bottom, and one more here. For the purpose of this video, let's do all 4, just to be super clean. Take all 4 out. Just hold the plates then together because they can come loose. We don't want that your vista is falling apart. So take all the screws from the bottom out there. Make sure orientation is right. We want both connectors on one side. Line up with the holes and put the included 1.6mm screws in there. So just secure them a little bit, not too tight because you need to level the vista a little bit. So just screwing them in a little bit is fine, and also not too much pressure. Since this is a thread of 1.6mm, you can easily strip it. That's why just firmly the vista is no weight, so it will stay in place, no issues at all. And just secure them firmly. Don't need to like tighten them to the moon. So also this looks super clean, and I like how the flush everything is. And then we have our vista already installed. So next step would be we could see if we solder some wires on there. I like to lay out everything, so then when we do the wiring later, it's much easier. So it depends on what ESC you're gonna use. I'm just gonna use the supplied cable here. Just make sure you need to change the pinning from this ESC to the flight controller, because it has a different layout. Just make sure you're checking this, because you need to rewire something and then just put it together. And also, since this is a top and bottom installation, once you want to take the frames apart later on with the top plate, you could just simply unscrew this one here from the back, you know, and also just remove one of those cables, and then you should be good to go with your installation. So let's mount everything. Let's mount the ESC on the top plate. Let's take this apart for a second. So that's the bottom. We want to make sure we run the... let's install the XT60 first. Also, this one is super flush, as you can see, and this looks super clean too. We tried to get them in black, but it was super tough, so we couldn't manage to get this. Now I need to find the right screws for that one, since this is a 2.5mm screw. Let's open all the screws here. See what we have here. It should be 2 screws, so I assume it's in this package here. Let's check this. Use the right screwdriver would help. So exactly. So this is the perfect screw here. There's just 2 of them, so you will find them easily. It's just a button head screw, and you can simply screw it in here. Perfect. So that's nice. We can put this aside. Also save these screws here on the side. Who else loves to start to build super clean, and then after a few seconds it's like a huge mess? I think everyone is the same there. So I would place the ESC also center here. We have our mounting holes, because there's one thing when you run the wires later, since of the core installation, we need to be careful and do this last. Since we have this little going through here, the wire throughput, but we also have a thread there for your Blackmagic installation, and so I'm gonna explain this when we install the motors. Gonna put some additional, maybe some O-rings underneath it, so that the ESC doesn't have any contact with the carbon. These little plastic spacers here, I don't know if you can see them, they're super tiny. Just gonna install them. Also here, I'm gonna check this size of the screws. Make sure this fits here. Looks nice. We have enough space to the carbon, and we can install it like this. So So also here, which is nice, we can run the wires straight to this because the orientation is like plus and minus. So no tingling around with the wires. I'm gonna use another one. Maybe I can just prepare it like this and stick them all through there. You could also just use a little plastic screw to plastic nut to secure this already. Then you would have a space or two. Maybe just use this. It's easier for installation. I'm gonna remove these rings, get some plastic nuts here. So I just saw that my top view camera stopped recording for whatever reason. So I don't know how far of the footage we have on here, but just quick repeat. So I use both wires. They just run straight. So we have minus here, plus here, minus and minus here, and plus here on the connector. I'm just using black wires just for the looks, but it comes with a red wire, which is much more safer for your installation in case you want to change something. And also I installed the capacitor, just put it simply in the EC, solder it together. I'm gonna use a black heat shrink later on just to make a black too. And now I'm gonna just solder the wires here directly onto the EC. Start with this side. You need a little bit of heat to get this melting. This takes a bit. You can also like add a little bit more of solder. Same on the other side. I mean, it's not completely straight now. We could loosen the end and put it on the end there again, but I think that's cool. This side works much better. Just adding a little bit more of everything is nice and secured. So we have these wires installed. We can put the nuts back here on the EC. So I'm fine with the hand tight, so this looks good. So what's next? So let's install the motors next. Since these are prototype motors, I didn't have the right screw length for them, so I'm going to just use some of my screws I have here, and which are M3x6. Just gonna install them. Just make always sure with motors that you have the correct length of screws since you can shorten them if you touch the windings or damage the wires underneath. So that's why I always make sure. I always just put them loose on here for now till I have all the holes lined up, and then I tighten them up. You could use also Loctite on here, but I never had any issues. So I always check my drones regularly for loose screws and something. So this is fine. Just make sure you place, since you can see we have this brace here going straight for the wires, so just make sure your motor is aligned like this for a clean build. I'm gonna use one here. And those motors look good on here. So we have all 4 motors installed now. Can put these screws back in their bag, just not lose them. So that looks actually great. So for soldering the motor wires, I mean, you run them across this brace here, but just make sure you check with the core that this lines up, because this was super tricky in designing it. Had to be super careful here. So, and also the core has this little groove here, because this is for the battery strap. Just make sure this aligns with this strap here, and so you have enough room here, and these wires go in here. Because we give this note because we don't want to have you cut your motor wires too short and then not line up with the core. That's why we prefer to run them around like this, and then you can remove the core and you have enough room, you know, to play with your wires and have them sit in there good. So also here, just keep them in a little loop so that you can run them easily around it, because if it's too tight then you may have issues later on. If they're too short, that's why I like to have like a little loop like this, and then you have no issues with your core to be installed. Since these wires run underneath here, just make sure they're not too short, because if you just would go straight to the ESC here, then you would have a conflict with the core not fitting. That's why be careful and leave them a little bit longer. So since I know now how I want to do that, just gonna use one as an example. So this is enough play for me. I can cut the wires. And can solder them, so let's do the same here. Just leave a little loop and cut them. Remove the excess wire, take the second core for your other side, just to make super sure. Again, here's the opening for the battery strap on the back. You align it with this here, and wires go left and right. So you put it in here, you put it in here. So wires go underneath here. We also have our loop here, which is nice and clean. Just make sure they all have the same length, and then you loop them around. Just give it a little bit more than you actually need, just for safety, because there's nothing worse than too short motor wires and you have to extend them. So we're gonna tin all the ends. Waiting for the soldering iron to get hot. So what I like to do is have them all straight, and then also have them straight going to the different motors. So I just finished building up all the motor wiring, and what we can do next is just secure them here with a little bit of tape, just to make sure they stay nice and snug here. But I think it looks cool, and we have a little bit of flex, so that's good, and we make sure we can install the core safely, and the motor wires are not too short. So let's put some tape on there. Just to use a little bit of this tape here. Let's just use a little bit of tape here, just to secure the wires. Just roll it out there. Good. Just roll it out here. Just cut a few pieces. And we can secure the motor's wires. Let's see if that works. You could also just use a zip tie, just on the preference you have. So finishing up all the motor wires, I think that looks super clean. Now let's move back onto the top plate. So I just noticed installing these USB extension cords that we need to rotate the flight controller and the Vista, just to make sure that fits with the core here. So we need to rotate that really quick. And now we can easily install these. We have enough room here for the camera to sit, so that's nice. Next up, I would suggest to do the pinning of the ESC and the flight controller. So we have disconnections. Depends on which flight controller and ESC you're gonna use. You don't have to do this step, but I need to repin this connection cable here, and I'm gonna do this real quick. So I have just finished repinning the wire for the ESC and the FC. Next step would be the soldering of the Vista. So I'm gonna do this right now. Let's use some black wires again. Also here I'm gonna use black wires. You don't have to do that. I just like the look of it when everything is black. But you can mix up things easily, so don't do this. So I'm gonna use always using T2 and R2 for the TBS Crossfire, and R4 for the Vista. So just tinning everything here. This is... I have to take it off again. Sorry guys, but the Vista needs to come off. Hopefully one last time. Just put this aside. Tinning here everything. It's always when you're like too quick like with installing everything, then it's always you need to take it off and on and off and on. So we have this tint. Then we have our... Where did the black wire go now? Here. With our black wire. You don't need too long wire for the flight controller. Just a little bit. So I'm going to install these here, these. TX. So now that we have all the wires attached here, I have 2 longer wires to run to the power, and also 2 shorter ones for RX and TX. Usually what I do is like I remove the isolation from TX and from volt, so I know because I run black wires which one to go where. So now we can finally mount the Vista back on here. Goes like this. Just put the screws back in here. And firmly secure it. So now we have that installed. We can solder these 2 wires here to the flight controller. So the one with the with no insulation on here goes to RX. And the other one goes to TX. I also try not to run any cables over the flight controller, since they could move around and everything that touches the gyro is no good. So I always run them beside the flight controller, just to make life a little bit easier. So then actually these 2 wires would go to your main source, to your main battery supply. I left them a little bit longer. You could install a plug in between here if you want to take it apart. I just leave them a little bit longer and then fold it aside, because usually I'm not doing after once I build it and I don't crash it, do any maintenance on it. So I'm just gonna leave them longer, and then once we put the sandwich together, I'm gonna solder them together. Next step would be soldering the crossfire. So next up, soldering the crossfire nano diversity. You could also just put a normal in there, but we like to have the extra safety of the diversity on the radio link. So just soldering this one up here. So that's done. Next up, we can check for antenna length. Let's see what we have here. We usually put them here on the side. I'm pretty sure you guys come up with like super cool mounts, but for now we like having them on there. So let's check the other one. I'll put one left and right. So, antenna 1, antenna number 2. So, that's good. And I like to put the antennas like this, so they go inwards. That's an extra protection when you put the heat shrink on top of it, that they don't come loose. And now I'm gonna heat shrink it real quick. Be careful with the plastic, do not too much. Nice and snug. You can actually cut off the ends a little bit. That's nice. So let's solder them on here. Set flag is ground. Oh, there's always so much stuff laying on the table, so it's kind of hard to like find the right things. So we said this is ground. Then next up is gray, is our voltage. So it takes the 5 volt from the flag controller. So now everything is soldered. We can just loop this around here a little bit to make it nice and tuck. Just like to rotate the wires a little bit, just to have this all together. So now it looks super nice and clean. To find a location for your crossfire, I think it's kind of nice, since we run the wire back. if you put it here on the back. You can either use some, I think I'm gonna use some sticky tape just to put it on here, and then we have the antennas left and right. Let's do that. Some good 3M tape here. Put it on the back side of the crossfire and cut it off here. Probably press it a little bit down. Always a hassle to do it. Just like this. So this is nice. Now we have this cable for here. We have the antenna here on the back. And now finally we can install the cam plates. So orientation, this is the bottom. Camera needs to look up. We have these two plates here. Just slide them in. There's 3 mounting holes, just pick the one you prefer. Firmly secure it. Take the second one. So, camera is installed. This looks nice, just making sure everything is okay. And we have this here on the back. We need to run these wires there. We need to plug this in there. So what we can do next is actually solder our 2 wires here from the Vista to actually just use this here to the voltage to the ESC. So we're actually gonna just use, see, and if you leave those wires as long as, since they're in the core, they don't be in the way for anything. So this is totally fine, but you can also just put a plug in between if you don't want to lay it out later if you do some maintenance. Just in these wires here. Just making sure plus goes to plus, which is here. Just need a little bit more solder. Ah, yeah, building drones are always fun. So this looks good. Then we have the ground. So these are nice and tuck. What else do we have? So we need an antenna for here. So actually, since this is long enough now too, you can just pick either side. You have two mounting holes here, since we made it available for the air unit too. But I like to just run. I'm gonna tighten this later. I just like to run the air unit. It's getting late. The Vista. So that looks already super good. We can mount these later here, left and right. We have this installed. We still have enough room to open it. I would say I'm just gonna do a quick power on to see if everything works before I close it. Just making sure everything is there. And if you guys have a smoke stopper, definitely use this. But I made sure everything is okay. I need an antenna to connect here real quick. Just make sure nothing happens. And let's plug it in. And there we are. We have power on the flight controller. We have the crossfire running and the air unit is flashing too. So that sounds good. Everything is working. Great. Can now safely unplug it. So now that we have everything connected and we're making sure it's working and we have power everywhere, the next step would be we can install the two extension cords just for easier access on the flight controller and the Vista. So once this frame is like built together like this, it's kind of it's not a hassle, but it's not easy, as you maybe know from a normal 5-inch, since this is a sandwich design. So it takes use to get a little bit, building it. It's not that easy like you used to from your normal 5-inch. But once you have it figured out, it's all fine. And now we can install also the center core. Just make sure again that the opening goes to the strap section. Also make sure to not squeeze any cables in there. But if you put them in from the bottom first, then there's no issue. So now also all the wires are safely in there too. Just try to. So they just click in like this. You have your two extension cords on the back. Also make sure now on the top with your motor wires to not squeeze any cables. Maybe the best is if you just flip it around, or you put it in a sandwich like this and do one side and then the other. You will see this is a little bit of a hassle, but there was no other way in designing it. So, but we need this actually for the whole stiffness of the frame, but you will see it will work out. You just click it together. Make sure your camera plate is in there too. So this side is good. Then I would suggest to just secure one side here real quick, just to not get it loose again. 2 bolts are usually enough. Just one left and one right, so that the frame has a little bit of stiffness already to it. Just make sure everything is locked in. Camera plate looks good. And now check this side. This looks good. Now we check the other side for wires. Just make sure you don't pinch anything. Also here we're looking good. The bottom looks good. Yeah, there we are. Looks great. So now we have on the back our extension cords and our antennas. There is another standoff that goes in here in the back. So you can just slide it in here from the side. Maybe it's the best to use a little. And then you put a bolt in there too. This actually keeps the sandwich together. So put the other screw from the other side. So everything should be still in reach. Your bind button, you can just go in there. You could reach your crossfire. Yeah, so it's looking already super good. And now we put everything. It has like 3 screws in it, and it's already super stiff. I mean, it's insane. So that's the beauty of this design. And the high quality materials. So there's another one on the front. So make sure it's tight in here. And let's put some more screws in here. To get So now we have this. Oh, it's like It's crazy. I don't know if you can see this, but it's not moving at all. That's due to center core, and this makes it super stiff. Like nothing moves here either. Everything is like super stiff. That's why we have these good results on flying. There's 2 more standoffs that go here. I like to do them a little bit later, so we have more room to like work around. And like this, then flip the frame around. Put two more in here. So we're looking nice. I think it looks super good. Let's take care of these antennas here. I'm pretty sure there's some smart guys out there that develop some mounts for it. For all testing purposes, we just had them, secured on here, and then I'm pretty sure there will be some smart 3D print or something, a design that the community will use. We will share it definitely then. Also, for right now, you can just leave them out here. I will later just secure them here on the side to the core, and or maybe let's do it right now. So can put them on here on the side. Actually, if you want to, you can just hot glue him on there, but I think it looks super good. So you have the axis for flight controller and Vista. Now let's secure these with zip ties. So I'm just going to secure them for now with some zip ties, just for the purpose of this build video. And one here. So we can tuck them in here. So next step would be installing or flashing your firmware. I'm gonna put a dump in the video description, and so you can just install it. Just make sure you put your right settings in there. Also update your Vista flash your ACs, check motor direction. We using the S5 props from HQ to run on these, and I hope that helped you a little bit. Just install your battery strap. I'm gonna make a follow-up video now, which the different cam solutions where you can mount them. So just check this out. There will be a whole playlist for this video, and I hope you liked the little build guide here. I think it's a super awesome frame, and yeah, happy flying. Thanks for supporting us. Install your antenna and take care, guys. Bye.